With only $4 for a blind date, the maid's daughter waited alone. From the next table, the billionaire's son watched silently until the cruel setup became clear. She had $4, a second-hand dress, and a reservation at one of the city's most exclusive restaurants. For 17-year-old Claire Donovan, a maid's daughter on scholarship, this blind date felt like a dream. It was a night her mother insisted she deserved, a night she walked 40 blocks to save the bus money for. She sat alone, clutching her $4 safety net, waiting for the popular boy who had finally noticed her. But this dream was a meticulously crafted lie. And as the minutes ticked by, another boy, a billionaire's son, watched from across the room, silently witnessing the exact moment her world would begin to unravel. And before I forget, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. Leave a comment below, and I hope you enjoy what's next. The 17-year-old girl had exactly $4 for her first blind date. Her mother, who was a maid, had insisted she go. "You deserve one nice night, Claire," she had said, her voice warm. Claire Donovan was not so sure. She stood outside the restaurant. It was called the Mariner's Table. Heavy wooden doors, gold lettering. Soft light glowed from inside. It smelled like expensive wood and grilled fish. Claire was 17. She was a scholarship student at Ridgeway Prep. The other kids at Ridgeway had drivers. Claire took 2 buses. Tonight, she had walked. She had walked 40 blocks to save her bus money. The 4 $1 bills in her coat pocket were her only safety net. If he did not show up, she could at least buy a soda. Or maybe just take the bus home. She pushed the heavy door. A bell chimed, soft and low. A hostess in a black dress looked up. "Good evening. Reservation?" "Yes," Claire said. Her voice almost cracked. "For 2. Under. Kevin." The name felt strange on her tongue. Kevin was a senior at Ridgeway. He was popular. He had never spoken to her. Not once. Then last week, Jessica Moore, the prettiest girl in their class, had smiled at her. "Kevin thinks you're cute," Jessica had said. "He's too shy to ask you himself. He wants to take you to the Mariner's Table. Friday, 7 p.m. It had felt like a dream. Maybe things were finally changing. "Right this way," the hostess said. Claire followed her. The restaurant was quiet. People spoke in low voices. Silverware touched plates with gentle clicks. She smoothed the front of her dress. It was navy blue. Simple. It had been a gift from her mother. Her mother worked for one of the wealthiest families in the city. The dress had belonged to the family's daughter. It was last season's style. Claire's mother had been allowed to take it. It was the finest thing Claire owned. But under the restaurant's gold lights, it felt like a costume. A poor copy. She felt every eye on her. She clutched her small purse. Inside was her wallet. And inside that, a small, creased photo. It showed a young man in a soldier's uniform. Her grandfather, Arthur Donovan. He was a legendary war veteran. A hero. He was the one who told her to apply for the scholarship. "You're a Donovan, Claire Bear," he'd say, his voice rough. "We don't bow. We don't break. Hold your head high." She tried to do that now. The hostess led her to a small table. "Your date is not here yet," she said. "That's okay. I'm a little early," Claire said. It was 6:45 p.m. She sat down. The chair was covered in soft velvet. She put her purse in her lap. A waiter appeared. "May I start you with some water? Bottled or sparkling?" "Oh," Claire panicked. Bottled water cost money. Just tap water, please. With ice. If that's okay." The waiter nodded, his smile tight. He walked away. Claire felt her face burn. She stared at the empty chair across from her. "Please show up, Kevin. Please be real." At a large table by the fireplace, Nathan Harrington stared at his water glass. He was also 17. He wore a blazer that cost more than Claire's monthly rent. His father, Robert Harrington, sat across from him. Robert was talking to 2 men in suits. They were talking about mergers, shipping lanes, interest rates. They always talked about money. Nathan felt the boredom deep in his bones. It was a cold, heavy thing. He was supposed to be here, supposed to be listening, supposed to be learning how to be a Harrington. It felt like learning to be a ghost. His father was a billionaire. The Harrington name was on museums, on libraries, on the side of the prep school Nathan attended. He was trapped by a name he never asked for. Then he saw her walk in. He watched the hostess lead her to a table. He knew her, not her name, but he knew her face. She was from his school, Ridgeway Prep. She was one of the scholarship kids, the ones who ate lunch fast and vanished, the ones who never spoke in class unless a teacher forced them. She was in his American history seminar. She always sat in the back, by the window. She wore a simple blue dress. She looked terrified, but she also looked proud. She sat with her back straight. It was a strange, powerful mix. He watched her order water. Just tap water, please. He had never heard anyone order tap water here. His father always ordered sparkling water from Italy. Nathan, are you listening? Robert Harrington's voice was sharp. Yes, sir, Nathan said. He looked back at his father. Shipping lanes. His father nodded, satisfied. He turned back to his guests. Nathan's eyes drifted back to the girl. She was pretending to look at the menu, but her eyes kept flicking to the door. 15 minutes passed. It was 7 p.m. Claire's tap water was gone. The ice had melted. She was afraid to ask for more. She checked her phone. No messages. She read the last message from Jessica. He's so excited. Have fun. Claire smiled at the message. It helped. It made it feel real. At 7:15 p.m., she sent a text to the number Jessica had given for Kevin. Hey, I'm here. At the table. No reply. She folded her napkin in her lap, then unfolded it, then folded it again. A couple sat down at the table next to hers. They ordered a bottle of wine. They were laughing. Claire felt very small. At 7:30 p.m., she called the number. It rang once, then went to voicemail. The person you are trying to reach has not set up their voicemail. A cold dread started in her stomach. The waiter came back. Is your party arriving soon, miss? We have a 7:30 reservation for this table. His smile was gone. Oh, yes. I'm so sorry, Claire said. He's running late. Traffic. I'm sure he'll be here any minute. The waiter sighed. Very well. He walked away. Nathan watched the waiter. He watched the girl's face. Her pride was cracking. He could see the panic in her eyes. Robert, one of the men said to his father. About the new zoning. Nathan tuned them out. He watched the girl. He felt a strange, cold anger. Don't do this, he thought. Don't be a jerk. Just show up. At 7:40 p.m., Claire's phone buzzed. She grabbed it, relief washing over her. She opened the message. It was from Jessica. It was a picture. Jessica, Kevin, and 3 other popular kids were crowded into a booth. They were at a pizza place. Kevin had his arm around Jessica. They were all laughing. Under the photo, a message. Oh my God, did you actually go? Claire's blood turned to ice. She could not breathe. Another message buzzed. We had to see if you'd do it. A maid's daughter at the mariner's table. That's so funny. Another. Kevin says, sorry, you're not my type. The restaurant sounds faded. The clinking glasses. The low voices. It all turned into a loud, humming static. She stared at the screen. At their laughing faces. Her eyes burned. She blinked hard. We don't bow. We don't break. Her grandfather's voice. She refused to cry. Not here. Not in this place. She straightened her spine. It was the only thing holding her up. She put the phone back in her purse. She did it slowly. Carefully. Her hands were shaking. But she would not let them see. Nathan watched her from across the room. He had not seen the text. But he saw her face. He saw the color drain away. He saw the hope vanish, like a light being switched off. He saw her jaw tighten. And he saw her sit up even straighter. It was the bravest thing he had ever seen. His father, Robert, was laughing at a joke. Absolutely, Jim. We'll hedge the funds. Nathan felt sick. Claire looked at her empty water glass. She had to leave. But she had to pay. She had ordered tap water. Was tap water free? Or would they charge her? She only had $4. She signaled the waiter. He came over, looking annoyed. Miss? I have to leave, Claire whispered. Her throat was tight. How much for the water? The waiter's eyes narrowed. The water? It's just water, miss. I know. But this table is for paying customers, he said, his voice low. Claire's humiliation was complete. She felt like she was going to be sick. She fumbled in her purse. She pulled out the 4 crumpled dollar bills. Here, she said. This is all I have. I'm sorry. Nathan saw it. He saw the crumpled money. He saw the waiter's look of disgust. He stood up. Nathan, his father snapped. Sit down. We are in a meeting. Nathan ignored him. He walked past the waiter. He walked right to Claire's table. She looked up at him, her eyes wide and glassy with unshed tears. She looked broken. She started. Nathan looked at the waiter. His voice was cold. She's with me. The waiter froze. He looked from Nathan's expensive blazer to Claire's simple dress. Robert Harrington stood up. Nathaniel, what is the meaning of this? Get back to this table. The whole restaurant was quiet. Everyone was staring. Claire wanted to vanish. This was worse. 1,000 times worse. She was a scene. A charity case. No, I'm not, she said to Nathan. I'm leaving. Please, just let me leave. She tried to stand. Nathan put his hand on the table. He looked at the waiter, then at his father. I'm sorry, father. I'll be right back. He looked at Claire. You're not leaving. You're moving. He grabbed her hand. It was cold. What are you doing? She whispered. My father, Nathan said, is boring. And I'm hungry. And you still need to eat dinner. He pulled her. Gently, but firmly. He led her away from her small, sad table. He led her right past his father's shocked face. Nathaniel. Robert's voice was like thunder. Nathan did not stop. He led her to his own table. The big one by the fire. He pulled out the chair next to his. Sit down, he said. I can't, she whispered. Sit. She sat. She was shaking. Nathan sat next to her. He looked at his father. He looked at the two shocked businessmen. Father. Gentlemen. Nathan said, his voice perfectly calm. This is my friend. She'll be joining us for dinner. Robert Harrington stared at his son. He looked at Claire. He saw her cheap dress. Her red-rimmed eyes. He was furious. But he was in public. He forced a smile. It looked painful. Of course. Welcome. The waiter rushed over. He put a new napkin down for Claire. He filled her water glass. With bottled water this time. Claire stared at the table. She could not look at anyone. So, Nathan said, as if nothing had happened. You were saying something about shipping lanes, father? Robert Harrington's forced smile was a cold, tight line. He looked at his son. He looked at the girl. The two businessmen, Jim and Mark, looked at their plates. The conversation about zoning had stopped. The air at the table was thick. Claire felt like she was underwater. The sounds were muffled. Her heart beat a heavy, slow drum against her ribs. She was sitting at a billionaire's table. She was wearing a second-hand dress. She had $4 in her pocket. And she had just been the victim of a cruel, cruel joke. Nathan seemed untouched by the silence. He acted as if this was normal. As if he invited strange, humiliated girls to his father's business dinners all the time. A new waiter, not the one who had shamed her, appeared. He was older, with a kind face. He quickly set a new place for Claire. May I get you the menu, miss? He asked. No, Nathan said, his voice easy. She's having what I'm having. The salmon. Medium. And another sparkling water. Very good, Mr. Harrington, the waiter said. He vanished. Claire stared at the white, empty plate in front of her. She wanted to slide under the table. Mr. Harrington. Of course. This was Nathan Harrington. She knew the name. Everyone at Ridgeway Prep knew the name. The Harringtons were Ridgeway Prep. They had funded the new library, the science wing, the gymnasium. He was not just rich. He was a different species. And he had just dragged her into his family's den. Robert Harrington steepled his fingers. He placed them on the white tablecloth. He observed Claire. He was not just angry. He was assessing. He looked at her simple dress, her scraped-back blonde hair, her hands, which were clenched together in her lap. So, miss? Robert's voice was smooth. Like oil. Claire swallowed. The lump in her throat felt like glass. She looked at him. She would not be weak. Not now. We don't bow. We don't break. Donovan, sir, she said. Her voice was quiet, but it was clear. Claire Donovan. Donovan. Robert tested the name. You attend Ridgeway, I presume? With my son. He knew she did. He was testing her. He was seeing if she would lie. Yes, sir, Claire said. On a scholarship. She said the word scholarship like a shield. It was the truth. It was her armor. It was the one thing that proved she belonged there, even if she was different. Nathan glanced at her. A flash of something, respect, crossed his face. Robert's smile did not change, but his eyes grew colder. A scholarship. How admirable. He said, admirable, as if it were a rare, slightly sad disease. Jim, one of the businessmen, cleared his throat. He was desperate to change the subject. Robert, as I was saying about the Port Authority, the zoning is... In a moment, Jim, Robert said. He never took his eyes off Claire. I'm just getting to know my son's guest. He turned his full attention back to her. It felt like a spotlight. Hot and blinding. And your parents, Miss Donovan? What is it they do? This was it. This was the question. The one that separated her from everyone else at Ridgeway. The one that defined her. Nathan tensed beside her. Father, that's not. I'm asking the young lady, Nathaniel, Robert said. Claire looked down at her plate. She saw her mother's hands. Red, chapped from cleaning solutions. Tired. She saw her mother getting up at 5 a.m. to catch the first bus. She saw her mother packing Claire's lunch, always making sure Claire had an apple, even if it meant she didn't have one. The shame was instant, and it was overwhelming. Then she felt something else. A hot, sharp anger. She was the daughter of a good woman, a hard-working woman. She lifted her chin. She looked Robert Harrington right in the eye. "My mother is a maid, sir," she said. "She works for the Wallace family, on the east side." The silence that followed was absolute. Jim and Mark stared at their water glasses. They seemed to be trying to disappear. Nathan closed his eyes for a brief second. Robert Harrington's mask finally slipped. A small, almost invisible muscle twitched in his jaw. He finally understood. This was not a game. This was not a rebellious girlfriend from a poorer, rich family. His son had brought the daughter of a servant to his table. In public, during a business meeting. "I see," Robert said. The waiter returned. He placed a large, beautiful plate in front of Claire. A piece of salmon sat on a bed of green vegetables. It smelled like lemon and herbs. It was the most expensive-looking food she had ever seen. She knew, with certainty, that she would not be able to eat a single bite. "This is ridiculous," Nathan said. His voice was low and angry. He was not looking at Claire. He was looking at his father. "Nathaniel," Robert warned. "You invite me to these lessons," Nathan said. "You tell me to listen. Then you do this. You interrogate her." "I am having a conversation," Robert said. "No," Nathan said. "You're not. You're passing judgment." Claire felt she was watching a tennis match between two lions. She could not stay. She could not be the reason for this. She had faced the humiliation from Kevin and Jessica. She would not now sit here and be inspected. She put her napkin on the table. Gently. "Thank you for this," she said. Her voice was shaking, but she held it steady. "It's a beautiful meal, but I have to go." She stood up. The velvet chair scraped quietly. Robert looked annoyed. "Sit down, young lady. You haven't eaten." It was a command. He was used to people obeying. "No, thank you, sir," Claire said. "I've lost my appetite." Nathan stood up with her. "I'll walk you out." "Nathaniel, sit down." Robert's voice was not a request. It was thunder. The entire restaurant was watching them now. The quiet couple, the businessmen, the waiters. Nathan looked at his father. It was a long, silent moment. The son challenging the father. "No," Nathan said. He reached into his pocket. He pulled out a $20 bill. He threw it on the table. "For her water," he said. It was a sharp, defiant act. It was an insult. It was meant to be. Robert Harrington's face turned a dark, angry red. "Let's go," Nathan said to Claire. He didn't grab her hand this time. He just put his hand on the small of her back. He guided her. He shielded her. He walked her through the maze of tables, past the staring faces, past the hostess, who looked terrified. He pushed the heavy wooden door. The cold night air hit Claire's face. It felt like waking up. She stumbled onto the sidewalk. She took a deep, ragged breath. The air smelled like car exhaust and the city. It was real. She was shaking, but it was not with fear anymore. It was with anger, a deep, burning rage. She turned on him. "You shouldn't have done that," she said. Nathan looked confused. "What? Get you out of there?" "All of it," Claire said. Her voice was low, but fierce. "Sitting me at that table. The salmon. The $20. You didn't have to do that." "I was trying to help," Nathan said. He was defensive. "That waiter was, my father was." "You made it worse," she said. "You made me a spectacle. Your charity case. You brought the poor little maid's daughter to your father's table so you could feel good. So you could what? Rebel." Nathan was stung. He had never been spoken to this way. "No. I saw you. They were horrible to you." "They were horrible," Claire agreed. "And I was handling it. I was going to leave. I was fine. Then you saved me. You know what you did? You just proved what they said. That I don't belong. I'd rather have left with my pride." "Your pride," Nathan said. "They were making you cry." "I was not crying," she snapped. "And I had $4. I was going to pay for my water and leave." This stopped him. "You had $4. "Yes. 4. And I was going to walk home. And it was going to be my story. My problem. You made it your story. You made me something to be passed between you and your father." She was so angry she could barely see straight. She clutched her small purse. "I don't need a Harrington to save me," she said. She turned and began to walk. Fast. Her cheap shoes clicked on the pavement. Wait. Nathan called. Where are you going? Home. She called back, not stopping. It's late. Let me get my driver. He'll take you. Claire stopped. She spun around. The streetlight caught her face. She looked like a warrior. No, she said. No drivers. No Harringtons. No more. Stay away from me. She turned and started walking again. This time, she ran. She ran until she turned the corner. She did not look back. Nathan stood on the sidewalk for a long time. The cold wind felt strange. He was confused. He was angry. And, more than anything, he was impressed. She was terrified. She was humiliated. But she was not weak. She had more strength in her small, shaking body than his father's 2 business partners combined. Stay away from me. He felt a strange pull. He wanted to do the exact opposite. He turned and walked back into the restaurant. The mood was ice. The businessmen, Jim and Mark, were standing. They were finishing their drinks. Robert, thank you for the meal, Jim said. He was avoiding eye contact with Nathan. We'll be in touch. We'll have our people call your people. Yes, thank you, Mark said. They practically fled the restaurant. Now it was just father and son. The table was a wreck. Claire's untouched salmon sat between them. Nathan's $20 bill was still on the table. Robert Harrington slowly, deliberately, picked up the $20 bill. He folded it. He tucked it into his son's jacket pocket. A cheap gesture, Nathaniel, he said, his voice dangerously calm. Never use your own money when mine will do. Nathan sat down. He felt tired. She was being bullied. She was, Robert agreed. He signaled the waiter. Check. You agree? Nathan was shocked. Of course. Those children who tricked her? Vicious. Tacky. New money. But that is not your concern. Robert leaned forward. You will never, ever, embarrass me like that again. Do you understand? You were embarrassing her, Nathan shot back. Her? The maid's daughter? Robert almost laughed. Do you have any idea what you've done? You brought that into a meeting. My meeting. You showed weakness. You showed sentiment. In business, sentiment is a cancer. You cut it out. It wasn't sentiment, Nathan said. It was decency. Robert's smile was thin. Decency. Decency is a luxury we cannot afford, son. Not when we are building things. Let me teach you the real lesson. The world is built on power. The strong take. The weak are taken from. Your job, your only job, is to be strong. Your job is not to carry the weak on your back. He paused, his eyes drilling into his son. Especially not her kind. Nathan stared at his father. The gap between them felt vast. They were speaking 2 different languages. Her name is Claire Donovan, Nathan said quietly. It doesn't matter. Her grandfather is Arthur Donovan. Robert paused. He was signing the credit card slip. His pen stopped moving. He looked up. The name registered. The war hero. The one from the 82nd. Yes, Nathan said. Robert finished signing his name. He capped his expensive pen. A pity. All that courage, and it ends up in a maid. And a granddaughter who lets herself be the butt of a joke at a restaurant she can't afford. He stood up. Stay away from her, Nathan. I mean it. She is a distraction. She is trouble. She is beneath you. Nathan said nothing. He watched his father walk away. He looked at the empty chair where Claire had sat. Her untouched plate. Stay away from me. Stay away from her. It was the first time in his life that Nathan Harrington felt truly, deeply defiant. Claire did not run for long. She ran until the burning in her lungs and the ache in her eyes forced her to stop. She leaned against a cold lamppost, 2 blocks from the restaurant. She was in the rich part of town. The part she cleaned. The part she went to school in. The part where she would never, ever belong. She took a breath. And another. The night air was sharp. We don't bow. We don't break. Hold your head high. Her grandfather's voice. It was her bedrock. She stood up straight. She had 40 blocks to walk. She had walked it before. She would walk it again. She clutched her purse. The $4 were still inside. She had not spent them. She had not taken the billionaire's charity. She had not eaten their food. She had walked out. She put one foot in front of the other. The city changed around her. The quiet, tree-lined streets with their wide, glowing windows turned into avenues. The avenues turned into crowded, noisy streets. The boutiques with French names turned into bodegas and laundromats. The air smelled different. It smelled like exhaust, fried food, and home. She passed the bus stop. A bus hissed to a stop, its doors opening. She could get on. She had the $4. She kept walking. She needed the walk. The humiliation from Jessica and Kevin felt like a stain. The pity from Nathan Harrington felt like a burn. The anger from his father felt like a cage. Walking was motion. Walking was purpose. Walking meant she was deciding where she went. 45 minutes later, she reached her building. It was brick. 5 stories. The lobby was clean, but the yellow paint was peeling. It smelled like bleach and old carpet. She walked up the 3 flights of stairs. Her legs ached. She opened the door to apartment 3B. The tiny apartment was dark, except for the blue light of the television. The sound was low. A game show. Her mother, Mary Donovan, was asleep on the sofa. She was still in her gray and white maid's uniform. Her shoes were on the floor by her feet. An empty mug was on the small table next to her. Mary had worked a double shift. She had cleaned the Wallace's house all day. Then she had served at their dinner party all night. Also, Claire could have a navy blue dress. Also, Claire could go on a date that was a lie. A wave of love, so fierce it hurt, washed over Claire. She went to the small linen closet. She took out a worn, knitted afghan. She unfolded it and gently, so gently, draped it over her mother. Mary stirred, but didn't wake. She just sighed, a sound of pure exhaustion. Claire stood and watched her for a moment. This was her world. This was her reality. It was hard. It was tired. But it was real. She turned to go to her room. Claire Bear? That you? The voice was rough, like gravel. It came from the back bedroom. Claire went to the door. Hi, Grandpa. I'm home. She stepped inside. The room was small. It held a twin bed, a metal dresser, and a wheelchair. Arthur Donovan was sitting in the wheelchair by the window, looking out at the brick wall of the next building. He was a thin man, but his shoulders were still strong. His white hair was cut short. His eyes, even in the dark, were sharp. They missed nothing. He had been in that chair for 20 years. But he was the strongest man Claire had ever known. You're late, he said. He wheeled himself around. How was the date? With the boy. Kevin. Claire's face crumpled. She had held it together on the street. She had held it together in the lobby. She had held it together for her mother. She couldn't hold it in front of him. She sat on her small bed, and she told him everything. She told him about Jessica's texts, the laughing photo, the empty chair, the waiter with the tight smile, the tap water, the $4. And then she told him about Nathan Harrington, the billionaire's son. She told him about being dragged to the big table. The questions from the father. My mother is a maid, sir. The untouched salmon. The $20 bill. She told him about walking out. About yelling at Nathan on the sidewalk. She told him everything. When she was finished, the room was quiet. She was crying now, silent tears of shame and anger. Arthur Donovan was not looking at her with pity. His face was hard. His jaw was set. He wheeled his chair closer. He put his large, wrinkled hand on her knee. You're a Donovan, he said. His voice was a low rumble. We have a proud name. We served. We fought. We never, ever, let anyone tell us what we are worth. He looked her in the eye. Did you cry in front of them? No, Grandpa, she whispered. I waited. I'm crying now. That's all right, he said. You're allowed to bleed at home, but not on their battlefield. He squeezed her knee. That billionaire. The father. He asked what your mother did. Yes. And you told him? You didn't hide it. I told him. I said she's a maid. Good girl, Arthur said. Good. You never, ever be ashamed of your mother. She works harder than that man ever has. She works with her hands. That's real. He just moves numbers around. He paused. And the boy, the rich one, Nathan. I told him to stay away from me, Claire said. He tried to give me a ride. He made it worse. He made me his charity project. Arthur nodded. Slowly. He's a Harrington. I know that name. Old money. Built this city. They're different, Claire. They're not like us. His father, Robert, he's a shark. And that boy? He's the shark's son. You were right to tell him to stay away. He tapped her knee again. Now, this is what you do. You're going to sleep. And on Monday, you're going to wake up. You're going to put on that scholarship kid uniform. And you're going to walk into that snake pit. That Ridgeway prep. Grandpa, I can't, she whispered. They'll all know. They will know, he said. His voice was iron. And you will let them. You will walk past them. You will hold your head so high your neck hurts. You will look through them. You know why? Because they are hollow, Claire. They are cheap. They are built on jokes and their daddy's money. You are solid. You're a Donovan. You are built on something real. Claire looked at her grandfather. The hero. The man who had faced things she could not imagine. She took a deep breath. She wiped her eyes. Okay, Grandpa, she said. Okay, now go to bed. And don't you dare slam the door. Your mother is sleeping. Monday morning was a cold, gray sky. Claire rode the two buses. She held her grandfather's words in her chest. Hollow, solid, real. She walked up the wide stone steps of Ridgeway Prep. The school looked like a university. Its stone walls were covered in ivy. It was built to last forever. It was built by people like the Harringtons. She pushed open the heavy oak doors. The main hall was loud. And then, as she stepped in, it changed. The loud chatter of teenagers dropped. It became a low, hissing wave of whispers. She felt it. Every eye. She was the girl. The maid's daughter. The one who actually showed up at the mariner's table. She kept her eyes forward. She walked toward her locker. Her heart was a rabbit, trapped in her ribs. Hold your head high. She could see them. The popular crowd. They were at their lockers, a tight, loud group. And at the center, Jessica Moore. And Kevin. They saw her. Jessica's face lit up with a smile that was all teeth. It was a predator's smile. She stepped away from her friends. She walked right into Claire's path. Claire, she said, her voice bright and fake. Oh my God. I've been texting you. How was Friday? The hallway was silent now. Everyone was watching. Claire stopped. She was trapped. Kevin was behind Jessica, leaning against a locker. He was smirking. He wouldn't even look her in the eye. We felt so bad, Jessica said. She put a hand on her chest. Kevin's dad, had this last-minute family emergency. He just couldn't make it. He feels terrible about it. It was a lie. A lazy, insulting lie. Claire said nothing. She looked at Jessica's perfect, smiling face. So, did you wait long? Jessica pressed. Did you, order anything? The group behind her snickered. Claire thought of her grandfather. She thought of her mother, asleep in her uniform. She took a breath. She looked at Jessica. Not with anger. Not with fear. With nothing. She looked at her like she was a bug. It was an education, Jessica, Claire said. Her voice was quiet, but it was clear. It carried in the silent hall. Jessica's smile faltered. This wasn't the reaction she wanted. She wanted tears. She wanted yelling. What? I learned something, Claire said. She looked past Jessica to Kevin, who finally met her gaze. I learned what you're both made of. She paused. It's nothing special. The snickers stopped. Kevin's smirk vanished. Claire stepped around Jessica. She did not run. She walked. Each step was measured. She walked down the hall to her locker, unlocked it, and started pulling out her books. She could feel their eyes on her back. But no one said a word. She had won. She had survived. Down the hall, hidden by an alcove near the library, Nathan Harrington had seen the entire thing. He had gotten to school early. He had been dreading this moment. He had seen her walk in. He saw the whispers start. He had tensed, ready to what? Intervene? Save her again? He heard her words. I learned what you're made of. It's nothing special. He watched her turn her back on them. He watched her walk away. His father's voice echoed in his head. She is weak. She is beneath you. His father was wrong. She was the strongest person in this entire building. He felt a hot, strange surge of something. Anger. And admiration. He stepped out of the alcove. He walked past Claire, who was fumbling with her books. Her back was to him. He walked straight toward the popular crowd. They were still frozen, confused by Claire's response. When they saw Nathan, they straightened up. Nathan Harrington was their king. He was the son they all orbited. Hey, Nate, Kevin said. He tried to sound casual. He clapped him on the shoulder. You hear about the joke we pulled on? Nathan's face was cold. He looked at Jessica. That was a cruel thing to do, Jessica, Nathan said. His voice wasn't loud, but it was like ice. It cut through the hall. Jessica's jaw dropped. What? Nate? It was just a joke. She's a nobody. No, Nathan said. It wasn't a joke. It was pathetic. He turned his gaze to Kevin. Kevin, who was a foot taller than him, suddenly looked small. And you? Nathan said, his voice flat. You're a coward. Kevin's face turned a dull, angry red. What did you say to me? You heard me, Nathan said. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. You're a coward. You let her do your dirty work. And you humiliated a girl who did nothing to you. He looked at the group. All of you. It was pathetic. Nathan didn't wait for an answer. He turned and walked away toward his homeroom. The social order of Ridgeway Prep had just cracked, wide open. The king had just defended the scholarship girl. At the end of the hall, Claire had heard it. She had heard every word. She turned, her history book clutched to her chest. She watched Nathan's back as he disappeared into a classroom. He had done it again. He had defended her. But this time, it wasn't a rescue. It was an alliance. She was confused. She was angry. And she was, for the first time, a little bit afraid of what he had just done. He had painted a target on both of their backs. The rumor of what Nathan Harrington had done in the main hall spread through Ridgeway Prep faster than fire. By lunchtime, the school was split. The popular crowd, Jessica, Kevin, and their followers, was furious. They treated Nathan with a new, cold respect. He was still their king, but he was a king who had turned on them. They couldn't touch him. So, they focused on Claire. It was different now. The whispers were not just hissing, they were openly hostile. As she walked to her locker, a girl accidentally slammed a locker door just as she passed. Claire flinched, her books scattering. Kevin and his friends laughed. But then, something else happened. A boy she'd never spoken to, a quiet kid from her math class, bent down and helped her pick up her books. He didn't say a word. He just handed her the stack and walked away. In the cafeteria, she sat at her usual table, alone. A group of girls from the popular crowd walked by. One of them tripped. Her tray, full of ketchup and fries, tilted. It was aimed right at Claire. Watch out. A hand shot out. Nathan Harrington. He had been sitting 3 tables away. He moved so fast, Claire didn't even see him. He didn't stop the tray. He just put himself between the girl and Claire. The tray of fries and ketchup hit him, right in the middle of his expensive, blue Ridgeway blazer. The cafeteria went dead silent. The girl who had tripped turned white. Oh my God, Nathan. I'm so sorry, Nathan didn't even look at her. He just picked a fry off his lapel. He looked at it. Then he looked at Kevin, who was watching from across the room. You missed, Nathan said. He took off his blazer. He tossed it onto the empty chair. He was wearing a simple white shirt. He sat down at Claire's table, right across from her. Claire was frozen. Her heart was hammering. What are you doing? She whispered. I'm eating lunch, Nathan said. He gestured to her tray. Are you going to eat that? You can't sit here, Claire hissed. They're what? Nathan said, his voice loud enough to carry. They're going to throw food at me? Good. I'm hungry. No one moved. The entire social structure of the school was melting down. Claire looked at him, at his white shirt, now stained with ketchup. Your father? You're making this worse. My father, Nathan said, hates this blazer. He's probably glad. He looked at her. You have to eat, Donovan, or they win. Eat your lunch. Claire looked down at her sandwich. She was shaking, but he was right. Slowly, she picked it up. She took a bite. Nathan nodded. He didn't have any food. He just sat there, a king in a stained shirt, sitting at the scholarship table. He was a guard, a silent, defiant guard. He didn't speak to her for the rest of lunch. He just sat, and for the first time, no one bothered her. They just stared. The library was Claire's only safe place. It had high ceilings and smelled like old paper and floor wax. The rule of silence was the only rule that everyone at Ridgeway respected. She went there during her free period. She needed to escape the eyes, the whispers, the sudden, terrifying protection of Nathan Harrington. She hid in the American history aisle. She was working on a paper. She needed a book from the top shelf. The Great Gatsby. She stood on her toes, her fingers just brushing the spine. It was a book about a poor man staring at a rich girl across the water. It felt too real. A hand reached over her head. It was long, with a simple, expensive watch on the wrist. It wasn't Nathan. She turned. It was a teacher, Mr. Harrison, her American history teacher. He was a young, sharp man who loved debates. Fitzgerald, he said, handing her the book. A classic. He understood money. Thank you, sir, Claire said, taking it. Mr. Harrison leaned against the shelf. He crossed his arms. You've had a rough couple of days, Miss Donovan. Claire tensed. I'm fine, sir. You are, he agreed. You're one of my best students. You have a voice. A real one. Don't let these children take that from you. I'm trying. I know. I also know that Mr. Harrington has appointed himself your bodyguard. Claire blushed. I didn't ask him to. He doesn't seem like the kind of person who waits for permission, Mr. Harrison observed. It's interesting. He smiled, a small, quick smile. It's all very Gilded Age. The new money, the old money, and the scholar. You 3 could be a novel. He was talking about her, Nathan, and Jessica. I just want to be left alone, Claire said. That's the one thing you won't be, I'm afraid, Mr. Harrison said. Not anymore. But you're not alone in the other sense, either. The faculty, we see what's going on. We know who you are. Keep your head up. And keep handing in good work. He nodded and walked away. Claire stood there, clutching the book. He hadn't pitted her. He had encouraged her. He had called her a scholar. She felt a small, hard kernel of hope. That afternoon, Claire was called to the headmaster's office. This was it. Her scholarship. Her mother's job. It was all over. Her grandfather's words, hold your head high. She held on to them like a life raft. She walked in. Headmaster Davies was a thin man with a kind, worried face. Miss Donovan, please sit. You are not in trouble, he said immediately. Claire sat. She didn't believe him. I have had a very clear communication from Mr. Robert Harrington. Claire's blood ran cold. The father, the shark. He wants me expelled, doesn't he? She said. It wasn't a question. What? No. Good heavens, no. Mr. Davies looked genuinely shocked. Quite the opposite. Mr. Harrington, he was very clear. He is displeased. With me? No, Miss Donovan. With the situation. With Miss Moore. With Mr. Fletcher. With the disruption to his, how did he put it? The school's academic atmosphere. Mr. Davies folded his hands on his desk. Mr. Harrington called me this morning. He said, and I quote, that Donovan girl is on a full scholarship for a reason. See to it that she is left alone to do her work. He has made it abundantly clear to the entire board, including Mrs. Moore and Mr. Fletcher's parents, that any further harassment of you will be met with his full displeasure. Claire was stunned. He's protecting me? Mr. Harrington is not protecting you, Miss Donovan, Mr. Davies said gently. He looked sad. He is protecting his son. He is protecting the school's reputation. He is cleaning up a mess. He does not want a scandal. He does not want his son distracted by this. He meant her. She was this. You are, in effect, to be left alone, the headmaster continued. By everyone. Consider yourself in a very strange, very safe, very cold bubble. Claire left the office. She walked through the halls. It was true. The whispers stopped. People looked at her, then quickly looked away. They were afraid. She wasn't being expelled. She was safe. It was the most humiliating feeling of all. She was not a person. She was a problem that Robert Harrington had solved. He had insulted her. He had dismissed her. And now, with a single phone call, he had put her in a glass case. She felt like one of the butterflies pinned to a board in the science lab. The next day, in American history seminar, Mr. Harrison was grinning. All right, class. Time for the final project. This will be 40% of your grade. A 20-page paper and a 30-minute presentation. The topic, class and conflict in modern America. A collective groan went up. And, Mr. Harrison said, his grin widening, you will be working in pairs. I have chosen the pairs. 2. Encourage new perspectives. He posted the list on the overhead projector. The class leaned in. Claire scanned the list. Moore, Jessica and Fletcher, Kevin. Of course. Then she saw her name. Donovan, Claire and Harrington, Nathan. She stopped breathing. It had to be a mistake. A cruel joke. She looked across the room. Nathan was already looking at her. His face was a mask of cold fury. He was not looking at her. He was looking at Mr. Harrison. He knew. This was not an accident. This was Mr. Harrison, the teacher who loved interesting Gilded Age novels, throwing a match on the gasoline. The bell rang. The class erupted, students moving to find their partners. Claire was frozen. Nathan stood up. He slung his bag over his shoulder. He walked over to her desk. The students streaming out of the room gave them a wide berth. They were the two poles of the new Ridgeway universe. He thinks he's clever, Nathan said. His voice was tight. This is impossible, Claire said. She felt sick. Your father. I'm supposed to be left alone. Nathan's eyes narrowed. My father. He called the school, didn't he? He told them to make everyone stop. He's handling it, Nathan said. He kicked at a desk. He was furious. He's putting out the fire. He's trying to control me. And Mr. Harrison is fighting back, Claire whispered. Looks like it. Nathan sighed. He ran a hand through his hair. Look, I don't care. About my father. About Harrison. About any of them. But I do care about the 40%. And so do you. He was right. Her scholarship. She could not get a B. I can't go to your house, she said immediately. I wouldn't ask you to, he said. My father, it wouldn't be good. And you can't come to mine. She thought of the tiny apartment, her mother on the couch, her grandfather in the wheelchair. The shame was instant and hot. Fine, Nathan said. The public library. Downtown. Saturday. 10 a.m. We'll plan the whole thing. We'll get it done fast. He looked at her. We're partners, Donovan. That's all. This is just a grade. Just a grade, she repeated. Be there, he said. He walked out, leaving her alone in the classroom. She put her head down on the desk. Her safe, cold bubble had just burst. Her number one enemy had just made her safe. And her only ally was now her project partner. Her grandfather's voice came back to her. You're a Donovan. You're solid. You're real. She stood up. She packed her bag. She would go to the library. She would get her A. And she would never, ever speak to Nathan Harrington again after it was done. Saturday was bright and cold. The downtown public library was a huge, old building made of marble. It was a palace for everyone. Claire arrived at 9:55 a.m. She found a large oak table in the main reading room. The ceiling was painted with clouds. The only sound was the rustle of newspapers and the quiet thud of books being closed. Nathan arrived at 10 a.m. on the dot. He did not look like a Ridgeway prep student. He wore simple jeans, a gray sweater, and a plain black coat. He carried a leather messenger bag. He looked like a normal college kid. He sat down across from her. The table was wide. It felt like a barrier. Donovan, he said. Harrington, she replied. They sat in silence for a long moment. Okay, Claire said. She pulled out a notebook. She was all business. A 20-page paper. 40%. We need an A. We'll get an A, Nathan said. He pulled out his own laptop. I've been thinking about the outline, Claire said. She pushed the notebook toward him. We can't just talk about, rich and poor. It's too simple. Nathan read her notes. He was surprised. She had broken the topic down. Economic stratification. Inherited responsibility versus earned opportunity. Social mobility. The invisible labor force. The invisible labor force, he read aloud. What's that? My mother, Claire said, her voice flat. The people who clean the houses, serve the food, drive the cars. The people you see, but you don't see. They are the engine of your world, but they don't have a voice in it. Nathan looked at her. He nodded. Slowly. Okay, that's good. That's one half of the paper. What's the other half? This, he said. He typed a few words on his laptop and turned it around. The Gilded Cage. The Gilded Cage? Claire read it. You mean you? I mean the expectations, Nathan said. He was quiet. He leaned forward. The world you think we have. The freedom. It's not real. It's a different kind of trap. My father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather. I'm not a person. I'm a link in a chain. My entire life is planned. The school, the university, the company I'll run, the woman I'm supposed to marry. He looked at her. You think you have no choices. I have no choices, either. They're just more expensive. Claire stared at him. She had never, ever thought of it that way. She thought of his father, the cold, powerful man at the restaurant. Sentiment is a cancer. Your father, she said. My father, Nathan agreed. He's the architect of the cage. They looked at each other. They were not friends. They were partners. But for the first time, they understood each other. They were on opposite sides of the same high wall. So, Claire said, that's our paper. The invisible engine and the gilded cage. How they hold each other up. Yeah, Nathan said. He almost smiled. Yeah, that's it. They worked for 3 hours. They didn't talk about school. They didn't talk about Jessica or the cafeteria. They just worked. They built the outline. They divided the research. It was easy. He was smart. She was smart. The work was good. At one point, Claire looked up. He was writing, his face serious. He wasn't the king of Ridgeway. He wasn't the defiant son. He was just Nathan, a 17-year-old boy, trapped in a life he didn't want. And he looked at her. He didn't see the maid's daughter. He didn't see a scholarship case. He saw the person who had stood up to his father, the person who had called him out on the street, the person who was smart enough to get an A with him. I need one more source, Claire said, breaking the silence. There's a book. America's Class, 1945 to 2000. It's rare. The library has it, but it's checked out. Nathan's face was unreadable. I know that book. You've read it? It's in my father's study, Nathan said. He's got a private collection. Oh, Claire said. She looked away. Well, I'll find another source. No, Nathan said. It's the right source. I'll get it. I'll drop it off for you. Tomorrow. No, Claire said, too quickly. Don't. You can't come to my. I'll meet you in the lobby. 4 p.m. He was already packing his bag. We need the A. Donovan. He left. Claire sat there, her heart pounding. He was coming to her building. The next day, at 3:55 p.m., Claire was waiting in the peeling, yellow lobby. She was sick with nerves. The door opened. Nathan Harrington walked in. He looked wrong. In her building. He was too clean. Too expensive. He held the thick, dark blue book. Donovan, he said. Harrington, she said. She reached for the book. Just a minute, Claire Bear. The voice was like gravel. Claire froze. Her grandfather, Arthur Donovan, wheeled himself out of the slow, grinding elevator. He was in his chair, dressed in clean, pressed trousers and a collared shirt. He had shaved. He rolled to a stop between Claire and Nathan. He looked up at the boy. Arthur was thin, but his presence filled the lobby. Grandpa, Claire whispered. This is Nathan. He's my project partner. Arthur looked at Nathan. He looked at him for a long, hard 10 seconds. He was not looking at a boy. He was looking at a man. He was assessing him. Harrington, Arthur said. I know your name. Sir, Nathan said. He stood straight. He did not look away. You're Robert Harrington's son, Arthur stated. Yes, sir. I am. I knew your grandfather, Arthur said. We served on a board together. Years ago. Before this. He tapped the arm of his chair. He was a tough man. But he was fair. So I've been told, sir, Nathan said. Arthur nodded. You brought Claire a book. Yes, sir. For our project. Nathan held it out. Claire reached for it. But Arthur put his hand up. Wait. Arthur looked at Nathan again. You're the one. The restaurant. And the school. Nathan didn't answer. You took a tray of food for my granddaughter, Arthur said. Nathan's face was unreadable. Ah, yes, sir. Why? Nathan was silent. He looked at Claire, then back at Arthur. Because, sir, it was wrong. What they were doing. It was pathetic. He used his own word. Arthur stared at him. The old man's eyes were sharp. They saw everything. You're right, Arthur said. It was. But you embarrassed your father. You stood against your own people. They're not my people, sir, Nathan said quietly. The lobby was silent. Arthur Donovan held out his hand. Give me the book, son. Nathan placed the heavy book in the old soldier's hand. Arthur held it. Then he held it out to Claire. Take the book, Claire Bear. You and this boy, you go get that A. He looked back at Nathan. Thank you for the book, Mr. Harrington. And thank you for your decency. He turned his wheelchair. My ride is here. Claire, I'll see you at dinner. He wheeled himself out the front door, leaving Nathan and Claire alone. Nathan let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. He had just been tested. And he had, somehow, passed. I have to go, Claire said. She clutched the book. Right. Nathan looked at her. I'll see you in class. He walked out. Claire watched him go. He was the son of a shark. But he was the grandson of a fair man. And he had just earned the respect of a hero. The day of the presentation, the air in Mr. Harrison's class was thick. Jessica and Kevin had just finished. Their presentation was all bright colors and shallow quotes. They talked about how anyone can make it in America. It was hollow. Thank you, Mr. Harrison said, his voice flat. Next, Mr. Harrington, Miss Donovan. They walked to the front. Claire's heart was a drum. Nathan looked calm. Then she saw him. In the back row, sitting in a student desk. Robert Harrington. He was in a perfect, dark suit. He was watching. His face was stone. Claire felt sick. This was a trap. Nathan caught her eye. He gave her a small, almost invisible nod. We don't bow. Claire took a breath. She turned to the class. Our project, Claire began, her voice clear, is class and conflict in America. But it's not about what you think. It's not just about rich and poor. She started. She spoke about the invisible engine. The millions of people, like her mother, who wake up at 5 a.m. The ones who clean the schools. The ones who serve the food. She used statistics. She showed pie charts. She wasn't angry. She was factual. She spoke of a world that existed in the shadows of Ridgeway Prep. A world of work, of honor, of exhaustion. The class was silent. Jessica and Kevin were sinking in their seats. Then it was Nathan's turn. He stood next to her. My half of the project, he said, is about the gilded cage. He never looked at his father. He looked at the class. He spoke about the burden of a name, of expectations set at birth. He talked about a world where choice is an illusion, where your only job is to become a copy of your father. He spoke about sentiment being a cancer, about decency being a luxury. His father's face did not move. He just watched his son. The conflict, Nathan said, is that both of these worlds are real, and they are both traps, and they both rely on each other to exist. The cage, he gestured to himself, is built and polished by the engine. He gestured to Claire. Claire spoke the final line. The question isn't who is right. The question is, how do you get out? They finished. The room was absolutely silent. Mr. Harrison stared at them. He looked moved. He started to clap, slowly, and then the rest of the class joined in. It was a real applause. Robert Harrington did not clap. He stood up. He adjusted his suit. He looked at his son. He looked at Claire. He gave a single, curt nod, and he walked out of the room. Weeks later, the snow was just beginning to fall. The semester was over. They had gotten their A. Claire was at her locker. She had survived. The world at Ridgeway had settled. She was no longer a target or a project. She was just Claire Donovan, the quiet, smart scholarship kid. It was all she had ever wanted. Her phone buzzed. A text. From Nathan. The Mariners table. 7 p.m. My treat. Claire's stomach dropped. She stared at the message. This was a joke. It had to be. She texted back. No? He replied instantly. Why not? Claire typed. I'm not a joke, Harrington. And I'm not a project. A new message. I know. It's just dinner. We finished the project. Come on. Please. She thought. What did she have to lose now? She typed, I'll come. But you're wrong. He replied. Claire, it's my treat. I've been saving up. She went. She walked in. The same heavy door. The same soft lights. The hostess smiled. Reservation? Yes, Claire said. For Donovan. Right this way. The hostess led her to the same small table. Nathan was sitting there. He was not in a blazer. He was in the same gray sweater from the library. On the table, there was no wine. No sparkling water. There were 2 glass bottles of Coke and a large basket of French fries. Nathan stood up when she got there. Hi. Hi, she said. She sat down. I ordered for us, he said. I hope that's okay. Claire looked at the fries. She looked at the Coke. She looked at him. You said, it was my treat, she said. She was confused. I did, Nathan said. He pushed the basket of fries toward her. The total comes to $4. Plus tax. Claire stopped. She stared at him. He was smiling. A real, small, nervous smile. Claire felt a laugh bubble up. It was the first time she had laughed in months. She opened her purse. She pulled out her wallet. She took out the 4 crumpled $1 bills. The ones she had saved from that night. She placed them on the table. Keep the change, she said. He laughed. Deal. He handed her a Coke. She took a fry. To our A, Nathan said, lifting his bottle. To our A, Claire said, clinking hers against it. They ate fries. They drank their Cokes. They sat at the small table in the expensive restaurant. It was not a date. It was not a rescue. It was a beginning. And that's where we'll leave them, at that small table, with a basket of fries and 2 Cokes. I hope this story gave you a chance to step out of the everyday and just feel for a bit. It's a reminder that we never truly know the quiet battles others are fighting or the small gestures they're waiting to share. I'd love to know what you were doing while listening. Maybe just settling in or on a break from your own busy day. Let me know in the comments below. Drop a line in the comments. I really do read them all. If you want to make sure we cross paths again, hitting like and subscribing makes a huge difference. Thank you for spending this time with me.